What's up, guys, and welcome back to Beyond the Void Horror Podcast. My name is Alex, and today we're going to be doing a spoiler-free review of Night's End, a new Shudder original. Let's check it out. So I know I've been a little absent here this past week, and I apologize. I've been dealing with a few things that have been making it very hard for me to actually stay awake. I've been having weird issues, so I'm trying to correct them now. But yeah, I don't like watching a movie if I can't stay awake. I don't think it's fair of me to critique, considering that I'm having issues and not the movie. So I hope you understand. But I'm here, and I'm back, and I'm deciding to watch a new movie called Night's End. Night's End is a movie that is directed by Jennifer Reeder, who did the wraparound story called Holy Hell in VHS 94, another Shudder original. This is her second or third feature film after Knives and Skin, which I have not seen, so all I've actually seen of her work is the Holy Hell segment. So what is Night's End? Well, it's about a complete shut-in who is working on taxidermy and doing YouTube as a sort of way to live in this world that he has created for himself. This man named Ken, who is dealing with life. And of course, weird things start to happen in his videos that seem to be a little bit haunted. So Ken seeks outward to find help from other individuals in the YouTube community and who are writers of books to sort of figure out what's going on in this haunted apartment of his, and things get terribly worse. That's essentially the movie in a nutshell. This is a movie that is isolated into one room, or one apartment rather. So you're going to, of course, have a movie that's isolated into this one area. And I think it's important that they do that in this movie because that is part of the character's sort of lifestyle. And it's important for the viewer to understand what that lifestyle is like. So that was all fine and dandy for me. Ken seems like a very meticulous, very eccentric individual who often drinks coffee and Pepto-Bismol. Yeah. I feel like I have to try this out because I'm not sure if it tastes good or not. But there's some things that they use with the coffee and the Pepto to kind of symbolize his balance of his life and what is going right or wrong in his life while these haunted paranormal things happen. This is a story that was actually written by Brett Neveu, who has worked on one other feature film other than this. Some of the cast are Gino Walker, who plays Ken, the lead. We also get Kate Arrington, who plays the ex-wife of his. We also get Michael Shannon, who's been in a ton of different films and is our huge star. He plays the ex-wife's husband. And we even get Felonious Monk in here as one of the best friends named Terry. Now, the acting in this is not amazing or anything like that, but I feel like it was written well enough that some of these sort of occurrences that are happening in the film, especially the first two acts, are believable in some degree, and the conversations that Ken is having with his friends and people that he knows seem to kind of flow fairly well. However, it is around the third act where things start to get kind of topsy-turvy, and it goes somewhere from decent to harder to believe, harder to swallow. What this movie attempts in the beginning is some fairly decent atmosphere in the movie. There was a particular jump scare that made me, jolt out of my seat a little bit, which of course my girlfriend loves, and I didn't mind so much. It's not that it was necessarily a jump scare. It did definitely jolt me. I don't mind those being in there because that means that the movie's kind of working its magic, right? Somewhat. Unless they're all jump scares, which this movie was not. I'm also glad to see some representation in this film. We got a black male lead in a horror movie, which is not something that you always see a lot of times. We also get a female writer and director who has been working on some films in the industry, and I was kind of curious to check this out because I was a fan of VHS 94. However, I have to admit the Holy Hell segment was not my favorite. It was my least favorite of the bunch, but I wanted to go in and kind of give this a shot as it is. Now, I do appreciate this film in some regards because, I think it does sort of attempt to build an atmosphere, but that sort of wanes over time as the story and the problems progress. It felt different. The characters seemed pretty well thought out for the most part. And where it stumbles is where it goes a little too much into the absurd, because in the beginning of the film, you get a vibe that it's really trying to play on the reality of the situation. Yes, I know it's a supernatural film. That's not necessarily reality, but for the sake of the film, playing it straight is important, I thought, in the beginning, and then it drastically changes its tone by the end of the movie. It leads itself into sort of absurdity. One of the characters in particular that he meets to seek help from is a little unbelievable, let's just say. And what happens in the movie is a little unbelievable, obviously. Now, I appreciate movies that go a little bit further than you normally would. And if you're a fan of movies like Unfriended, all these other movies that have been done that deal with specifically the internet and how we interact with people, I think this will fall into place for you pretty decently. However, some of the believability is really going to separate a lot of the viewers from who like or dislike this movie. And that is where I landed. I kind of disliked where it ended up. Some of the characters and the character work that they were doing on the screen just didn't feel like it lost a lot of that atmosphere. Very important to me in the movie, and it kind of changes it for sort of a crazy over-the-top story with certain actors who I don't think were really playing it that well and maybe have overacted it a little bit to be a little too mysterious. I don't want to spoil it for you because, if you go and see in this blind like I did, I knew nothing about this film. Like, I knew zero. I didn't know anything other than this guy was a shut-in, and that was it. So I didn't know what to expect from this movie, and by the end of the film, I was a little dissatisfied. It starts to go down and down and down in my particular taste. To each their own, I think this movie had some good things in it, and a lot more bad by the end of the movie. Seeing Michael Shannon in here, you feel like, oh man, this might be something big, and in a way, he kind of just acts like a nerdy sort of husband. It's nice to see him in there for sure, but I don't think I depended on him solely to sell this movie. It almost was probably like a favor that he did, just to help out the movie a little bit. Story-wise, I like where it kind of went ideology-wise, because we never really get to see this side of a movie. It always ends up in somewhere in the happy department. This is not one of those films. This is one of those movies where the all hell breaks loose, and it's interesting enough, but I just don't think it was executed well. Some of the visuals are decent. They do some weird things in the movie, some glitchy effects and things like that to kind of make you feel like you're zipping in and out of reality, almost as if it's not even real. Just a good effect that they do to kind of make it feel a little more lively, more weird. But I would be interested to see where Jennifer goes in the future with her work. For me, it just feels like this movie was a little bit more disappointing where it was headed, the direction that it was aimed at. But without that atmosphere, it really did not pack the punch that it could have had. And I think it starts to lean a little bit more into the schlockier side. I think really where it started to kind of bother me the most, by the way, is that a lot of the YouTubers, considering that I do YouTube, it just felt a little inauthentic for each of the people. They did the best they could, but ultimately it just felt a little schlocky and kind of thrown together. And I wish it would have been a little bit more, because I think Gino does have the chops to do the atmosphere. And I think a lot of the other characters kind of take away from that atmosphere. And I'm a pretty open individual when it comes to movies, like if I can see someone's vision and what they were trying to go for on the budget that they had, I'm pretty cool with it. And I can kind of see where they were going. But like I said, without that atmosphere building up, it just feels like it's a different movie performing at the very end. And I wasn't scared or just leaning that way at all. But what did you guys think? Did you enjoy the movie? I would probably say that this is a 4.5, maybe a 5 out of 10. I wish I had better thoughts to say, but that's just my opinion. That's just my thoughts on this film. I'm not opposed to seeing other movies from Jennifer in the future, but this one just wasn't for me. How about you guys? Did you see this film? Did you enjoy it? What do you think about this film? Did it go where you wanted it to? Is it doing different things enough to kind of stand on its own? Did you get scared? Did you feel the atmosphere dissipate like I did? Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I would love to hear your thoughts and whether or not you're going to check this out on Shudder. It is up now, so you can check it out for your subscription. So other than that, thank you so much for coming by. And as always, long live the void.
Beyond